Hey, it's Girl Named Tom.
And we're hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
Looking back at these 6 months that you guys had away from your family, what would you say was the biggest challenge that you guys kind of felt you had during these 6 months of like being away from family?
The fact that our dad is sick, and he was in steady decline the last 6 weeks or so. That was just really tough, and it wore on our emotions. And like we were able to be there over the phone, but there's something special about being in the same room together that we just couldn't have. But it also meant a lot to our parents for us to be out in California doing that. It was a welcome distraction for them, and so that was definitely the most difficult thing, though. Just being away and not able to just sit in the same room together. But I'm really glad we're getting the opportunity to do that now.
I feel like that made you better musicians. The fact that you had so much going on back home, but you were still able to focus and able to kind of give us the performances that you did throughout each week on The Voice. I feel like by doing that, like you could pretty much tackle anything when you're like considering going on tour for the upcoming years or whatever. Like I feel like anything is possible now with the band.
That's true. We definitely grew a lot. And Rob, you're touching on the dilemma of a musician or an artist in general. It's usually when your life becomes more painful is when your art becomes better.
Yeah.
So you're touching on something deep there.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that. I mean, I'm sure that adds a lot of inspiration for writing. Like I hate that that's usually like the case. There's always something going on when inspiration hits, but during this time, you're focused on The Voice. You're focused on the songs that you're learning. You're also focused on your family back home. But I'm sure that inspiration is still kind of trying to come out. So during this process, did you guys find any time or any like writing happening while you guys were on The Voice?
Very little time. I mean, in order to write, you do need to, be able to give it time. And really, almost all of our music time went towards The Voice in this case, because there's so much other things that happen for The Voice besides music, like wardrobe, interviews, B-roll, all of these things that are happening. So whenever we got a chance to do music, it was Voice music pretty much.
I mean, especially the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
During the blinds and the battles and knockouts, there was some writing that we did. But the lives just picked up and it was too fast.
Yeah, I found myself walking around with my voice memos sometimes, just singing like 8 seconds of a line that came into my head, and then you got to shut it off and go to the next thing. But I've got a lot of those tiny little voice memos that I can't wait to blossom.
Now, the last time we spoke, you guys did mention that as far as like evolution goes with the band, The Voice kind of helped you learn how to arrange songs that were fitting for the band. Could you guys elaborate a little bit more on that? And at the same time, would you say that The Voice helped you discover who Girl Named Tom is and what kind of music Girl Named Tom is all about?
Yeah, I think particularly when we saw the songs like Dust in the Wind and River chart so high in the iTunes sales, that was very affirming, because in our ideal world, we'd be able to write music like that. And yet I was not sure if music like that was popular anymore, if anyone would appreciate it, if anyone would stream it. So now we know that if we write those songs that are dear to us and true to us, and we believe are beautiful, the world will think it's beautiful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, individually as vocalists, like what would you say that you learned about your voice, your vocal ranges throughout this process? And is there a particular vocal range that you never expected you could be doing that now you can tackle?
I think we all were stretched vocally.
Definitely.
And yeah, like I'd never ever sang a high A on like any stage. And so to do it on that stage and be like, well, I guess I'm going to do it.
On television.
It made me practice a lot and really, focus and take care of my voice. And yeah, I think Caleb, we always have him higher than, where he's comfortable, but he's finding it to be more and more comfortable. And then Becca, has just kept improving it more and more.
Yeah.
And
But man, the nerves on that stage make me do some crazy things that I listen back and I'm like, no.
It's pretty hard to listen to performances sometimes.
Yeah. We're glad y'all liked it.
Was there one that you guys felt was like a cringe for you when you watch it back?
Like
I mean, every single little thing. We are on worst critics, and every single video that is on YouTube of Girl Named Tom, I can find problems with.
Yeah. We're proud of what we did. We're proud of what we did, but there is plenty of room for improvement. Plenty.
Now, when I look back at your discography, earlier this year, you guys kicked off with an album as well as a single. And I also noticed, Caleb, you're one of the main songwriters with at least the discography that was for this year. What's it like when you guys come together and start working on music? Caleb, do you step in with lyrics, or do you guys all come in with lyrics and then, the sonics and the instrumentation comes in afterwards? Like, what is that actual process like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think at this moment I have a lot of poetry on my phone. So, but inspiration strikes between all three of us at random times. I think just right now I'm the one that writes the most like songs, but I think an album of ours is going to be it's going to represent all of our art. And that's the most fun is when a song that one of us could have written becomes far better because we have vulnerability and we have three voices and minds approaching it, and like builds it up into something that's a lot better. It's exciting.
And when you touch on vulnerability, has it always been a natural process for the three of you to come together and be vulnerable with your lyrics because you guys are siblings, because you guys know so much about each other? Or has it been more difficult to be comfortable doing it because you guys are siblings?
I would say there are phases for that. Like when we were really little, we were very vulnerable with each other. But then up until like last year, I would say the vulnerability was harder to tap into for all three of us. But now living together and having such high pressure experiences together, it's pretty easy to be vulnerable with one another, which is super important for any band. And
to be clear though, I still get nervous if I have a poem that I really like and I'm not sure they'll even if I'm sure they'll be accepting of it, it still makes me nervous to sing it for them or to read it for them or to even show it to them. So it gets my heart going just thinking about it. So that vulnerability is still something we have to be graceful about and push through. Yeah.
When you have these poems written out, how do you transform them into song, and how do you figure out where these pockets are going to go for each one of you individually, and like as well as like the cadence? Like, what helps you identify the cadence of these poems that you have written?
I think it's really nice that all three of us are trained in musical theory. So it's kind of a nerdy answer, but like it's super nice that we can share English language and we can also share the music language. And so and we all know how music works in that way. So like you use the word cadence and chord structures, and like we all have a similar ear for that. And so I don't know.
We can communicate what we're feeling and what we're trying to go for musically.
Yeah, and we're super honest too with giving feedback, which makes it tough to bring some art that you love, but you know that it has a better life getting that feedback and that
Yeah, that's true.
honesty.
Prior to The Voice, you guys still recorded music and still went into studios. But with The Voice, I feel like you have this enhanced experience of like more like bigger producers, and you have Kelly Clarkson there with you as well. So how did these experiences help you like be better artists when it comes to moving forward, when it comes to going into the studio and recording new material?
Yeah.
I would say like the experiences we've had before The Voice really helped us like get a good sense of how it works for a lot of artists and how it's possible to do that. And then The Voice experience was like, all right, and this is what it looks like when you're doing it at the highest level, like when you're performing every single week, and how to take care of yourself when you're in such high demand. And it really tested us like our arranging skills a lot. And I think going forward, it's good to have both of those examples so that we can, weave in patterns that work for us and things that don't work for us.
And I feel like you fell in love with the studio in a new way.
I
Henson.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so
what the
heavy,
possibilities
it was so amazing. It was
open our eyes to what the professional world looks like.
Because in the past, Becca would get super
I hated
in her head.
studios. Oh man, the worst. You can hear your voice too well or not well enough, and then you have to sing it really well. And I'm a perfectionist, so I'm like, no, we gotta do that take over and over and over. That one right there, you gotta actually incinerate it. Don't just delete it. Incinerate that take. It was terrible.
And we only had 45 minutes
And you only had
to have a complete product.
Yeah.
That was going out to the world, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah.
So you have to throw perfection out the window.
Exactly. And there's a lot of freedom in that. And so like having like rehearsing, knowing that that's what you're going to be doing in the studio, it just gave like a really good rhythm to the whole process.
At the same time, I feel like that's going to help you guys save some money next time you guys go into the studio. You won't have to worry about the hourly rate. Just get it done.
Like River was not perfect at all. Like we actually asked them not to tune it vocally, and yet it charted at number 1 and stayed there for a while. So like that's encouraging. So that means we don't have to be perfect, and we'll definitely take that moving forward.
It's a feeling. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like a lot of us music fans, like we gravitate more towards the emotions and once we feel the pain or the aches that you guys are emoting out of your music, I feel like that's when there's success with the song. But in saying that, like the fact that Becca, you mentioned you guys are perfectionists, how do you have multiple takes without losing that touch of like what the song is all about, the identity, the feeling, the emotion?
With every take that we cut, it's like you're going on the journey again, and you're going, and by the end of the session, I feel like so drained, and I gave everything that I have. But I remember for Dust in the Wind, especially, it had such a arc, and I loved the journey every single time we sang it. It was like, oh yes, we get to go on the trip again or whatever. It's
totally,
just like
that's exactly right.
It was so amazing to do that. But yeah.
And the producer,
sorry, I was gonna say.
Okay. The producer did a really great job of talking us through it, and he would say like, you guys, it's right here. Musically, it's perfect. Just get out of your heads with it. Just sing the song and just give as much to each moment as you can without thinking so hard. Thinking like, okay, here's where my note goes, and here's this. Just like live into the song more. That's cool.
And consistently, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th takes were where the magic, the lightning in the bottle was. The 1st and 2nd, and the 6th, 7th, 8th were just kind of just for kicks and giggles.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys discovered yourselves already, and I feel like that's just going to help with those rates.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, as far as Becca, you mentioned like you feel exhausted, you feel drained sometimes after these recording processes, and I feel like music, the recording process and music writing, I feel like is an escape, is a way to like release tension and escape the I don't know, the horrors that we deal with or whatever. Like But at the same time, I also feel like it's also draining when you finally release it, especially when it's performing and you go from writing, recording to performing to going on to the next song. So how are you guys able to keep yourselves, as fresh as possible during this entire process on The Voice?
Yeah. I think it comes down to a lot of times practicing the right amount and not overdoing it, not over and not over analyzing yourself or judging yourself in your head too. And I can tell when like we're practicing and I have a positive attitude, it's just way better than when I'm like constantly analyzing, was that good? Was that good? Every little step of the way. And just like trying to feel the song and let it move. What was I saying?
Yeah.
How do we take care of ourselves and like
Sleeping as much as possible.
Yeah, they're practical things like sleeping, eating
Drinking
healthy.
so much water.
Our body's our instrument, So yeah, I forget what I was saying.
people say like YOLO, live for today. We never did that. Like
No,
we were
yeah.
always living for Monday. Like what can I do in this moment to prepare myself for Monday? Is it sleep? Is it practice? Is it eat? Probably just one of those three.
Awesome. Well, I guess to close this off, like, what are you guys doing to prepare for 2022? What can fans look forward to as far as Girl Named Tom and new material?
We're gonna find the magic connection with a producer. We're gonna, try out a number of different producers, work with the label to find this right studio, and we'll release an album, full-length album of original music. Probably a single before the album comes out. We're not sure how we'll release it, but yeah, it'll be a fun journey, new journey.
Yep.
And we did just release No Snow for Christmas, streaming on all platforms, which is exciting.
For 3 more days or whatever it is.
Yeah, streaming for 3 more days, please.
Amazing. Well, congratulations, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me throughout this season. I look forward to doing this again soon, and best of luck with everything, and happy holidays.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Rob.
Rob.
Happy
Thank
holiday.
you.